Welcome back. The women's race took place on Friday afternoon at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Coming into the race, the favorites were Teeter, who finished very well in the spring series events. Last year, Kappa Delta was edged by Kappa Kappa Gamma on the final lap of the Little 500. But as their coach said it would be different this year, and it was. Kappa Delta takes home the title by nearly 19 seconds in this one. This is the first title all time in the 20-year history of the women's Little 500 for Kappa Delta. Coming in second was Teeter, who edged out Kappa Alpha Theta. Psychedelics finished in fourth, and defending champs Kappa Kappa Gamma in fifth. Kappa Delta became only the third sorority all-time to win the race. With more from the win, let's go back out to Bill Armstrong Stadium.
The 20th running of the women's Little 500 couldn't have gone any better for Team Kappa Delta. They qualified second and finished first. They couldn't be happier.
I don't know what to say. I'm super excited. It's surreal. We've dreamed of this day since we started training, and it's here. It happened. Just trying to enjoy it.
Everything we worked so hard for finally just fell into place today, and it was great.
I'm just ecstatic, and like they've all said, we worked so hard, and it's a good payoff.
Fortunately for Team Kappa Delta, they dodged all the track accidents at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Also, the transitions between riders couldn't have been smoother.
Nothing could have gone better.
Perfect day.
It was. Perfect day.
It was a dream come true.
We spoke with Team Kappa Delta after their win. There couldn't be more excitement in a group of girls, or better yet, best friends.
We're closer than anybody else in our house.
Yeah. We spent hours on the bike alone this semester together.
You think your roommates are good friends, but nothing tops the bike team.
Yeah.
After months of training for the sorority Kappa Delta, their name will go down in history as the 20th annual Women's Little 500 champions. We spoke with their coach after this win, and he was overjoyed.
Quite an accomplishment. We are having fun now, and I kept telling the team the whole season, it's about being discontent. You go out on the track, and you're discontent with how things are going, and you change it. You change it to become content, and that's what they did, and now they're in full contentment.
From the Little 500 at Bill Armstrong Stadium, I'm Alexis Hosier, Hoosier Sports Night.
Today marked the 20th annual Little 500 women's race. Bill Armstrong Stadium was filled with the sights and sounds of sororities and fans that came to cheer the women riders on. Heading into the race, Teeter was the team to beat after finishing first for quals. Unfortunately, things fared differently as Kappa Delta took the prize.
They looked really strong throughout the whole race, and I don't know if the rest of us had it in us to chase them down and then win a sprint. So they deserved it. They had a wonderful race, and they're a very strong team.
They had their struggles with injuries this year, but pushed through when it counted the most to be a contender for that first place finish.
Well, it's been nice riding with these ladies. It's been rough for all of us. We've had injuries on and off for the past 2 years, and we're just trying to get healed. And we're so glad to have a good team and a strong team to be able to carry through the entire race and end up on the final lap. So.
Exactly what were they thinking coming down to those final laps?
My goal was just to sit in as long as I could before I had to sprint, save as much energy, and it worked out. Brittany started speeding up towards turn 2, and I had to follow her wheel, and then at some point I just had to go. And when I went, just prayed that I was faster than she was, and it turned out okay, but it was close. Very close.
Well, Teeter took second place this year. You better believe they will be pushing for that first place finish next year. Reporting at Bill Armstrong Stadium, I'm Lauren Griswold, Hoosier Sports Night.
The Little 50 took place this past week as well as runners from across campus took part in the event. Let's go out to Patrick Hurley, who was there with more.
I'm here at the 2007 Little 50 race, the 5th annual race, where 4 runners from each team run 50 laps. The winning team is called Left-Handed Remarks with a time of 55:55, an unofficial new record at the track. Second place was Team Mercury. Third place was Fiji. Fourth, Crimson, and fifth, Cream.
We started up in January. We decided to get a team together, and we're working our butts off, doing workouts just to get us ready for speed and recovery. So.
How many? Is everybody run the same number of laps, or is it different, or how does that work?
Yeah, we ran about 12 each, 12, 13 each.
Yeah. The only difference we had was the start, because Greg had to do a parade lap and 2 other laps.
Right.
We had to take into account. So we switched up a little bit, but it's good.
Right. And how does it feel to win the 5th annual Little 50?
It feels good. Yeah. All the hard work that
It's like running all that crap finally paid off.
Yeah, I know. Finally sleep. Feels great.
And now your Little 500 week can finally begin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Training starts back in December, really. Trained all the way through the winter, getting a good base phase in, and going through February, March, started to get some interval training in, and we've been working hard for quite a while, so it's glad to see it finally pay off here.
Well, really, this kind of race, you have to run one at a time. It's the most efficient way to run it. You know, you can get the most speed in running one lap at a time. Then you get more rest while the other guys run. So it's a lot different from running a 5K where you're going all at once.
The race gives the runners, not only the bikers, a chance to enjoy Little 500 weekend with the Little 50. I'm Patrick Hurley, Hoosier Sports Night.
With the 57th running of the Little 500 officially in the books, we now bring in our own in-studio analyst, Ben Heisler, to help give some additional insight into this year's race. Ben, let's first begin with the men's race from Saturday, a 5-team race until the very end. What allowed Cutters to pull away from the 5-team field?
Well, Chris, the Cutters cycling team had two things going for them the entire race, and the first was their ability to stay consistent throughout. Now, all four of the riders stayed in tip-top shape, and they performed timely exchanges smoothly and efficiently. And the other difference, to put it bluntly, was that they had junior cyclist Alex Bishop, and the other teams did not. Now, Bishop took the final exchange from teammate Sasha Land at lap 195 and did not look back from there, despite the other four teams. He had Phi-Sci, Dodds House, Black Key Bulls, and Team Major Taylor right on his trail. Bishop is an explosive finisher, and let's not forget that last year, as a sophomore, he challenged Hall of Famer Hans Aronson from Alpha Tau Omega and beat him for the 2006 Missing Out crown. He is a tremendous cyclist, and I believe he was really the difference in this race.
Okay, now on the women's side, the first 60 laps of the race seemed to be a 3-team race between Kappa Delta, Teeter, and Kappa Kappa Gamma. Yet after about 3/5 of the way, Kappa Delta began to improve on their positioning and win the women's Little 500 in very impressive fashion. What were their keys to success in earning themselves a victory on Friday?
Well, Chris, Kappa Delta was absolutely exceptional on the track on Friday, and they are going to be a force to be dealt with in the future. Now, around lap 60, senior Lindsay Mank broke away from the pack and performed a very nice exchange to give their team a bit of room heading into lap 61. Little did we realize that that particular exchange would end up being incredibly helpful for them because the other team simply weren't aware of their acceleration on the exchange lap and never caught up. Kappa Delta built up a 5-second lead after that exchange on Teeter, who was the favorite to win, and never looked back. Kappa Delta's story is also a tremendous one. In the 2006 Women's Little 500, Kappa Delta senior Lauren Ziemba finished inches behind Kappa Kappa Gamma's Jess Sapp. So what did they do as a result? Well, their head coach snapped a photo of that finish and wrote on the bottom, 2007 will be different, expect to win. Guys, Kappa Delta expected to win this year's Little 500, and they did in tremendous fashion.
All right, Ben, final question for you. We know it's quite early, but what can we expect from the men's and women's race next year?
Well, guys, I'll go ahead and give you my top 3 teams from both the men's and women's side that I predict will finish in the top 5 for the 2008 race. Now, on the men's side, I believe Cutters will finish strong again based on their ability every year to compete. This was their 8th victory in the history of the Little 500, and I don't expect them to end their streak anytime soon. Now, I also expect to see Phi-Sci and Phi Gamma Delta to strongly compete as well, having many hungry seniors who will be looking for that chance to win what they have been working on all year long. Now, the dark horse for the men's race, I believe, is Delta Sigma Pi, who had many young riders in this year's race, and I think they will use this year's average finish as motivation to place in the top 5 next year. Going over to the women's side, I'm going to say safe a little bit and say that the top 3 teams will be back in the top 3 next year. I think Teeter will be strong again. Julie Benvenista is going into her sophomore year, and she performed quite well for Teeter during this year's race. And I also believe that Kappa Delta will look to repeat, and Kappa Kappa Gamma has always been a force with the women's Little 500. So guys, really no bold predictions, I should say, on the women's side, but expect a surprise challenger in Delta Sigma Pi in the men's race next year.
All right, Ben, thanks a lot. We're going to take a break here on Hoosier Sports Night, but after the break, we have an exclusive interview with the Cutters.